even though the work you've done may be very critical to the needs of your people, to the expansion of knowledge of your people, but it will be rejected because they won't validate it. So, cocoa, cassava, chocolate. Where are we making our choices? In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, let me express some thoughts about some issues about language policies in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, we are encountering what I call the LEGS, linguistically endangered generation. You have Ghanaian mothers and fathers. In most cases, mother and father speak the same language, but children speak English. Because mother and father think it is chic to speak English with their children. And in most cases, they just speak brofubon, bad English to the children. And by the time the children go to school, you can't even correct their English. And I'm sure you know instances. Maybe you are one of them. We are not going to ask you to own up. But you know, one of the interesting things you find is when you travel outside this country, people are interested in the language you speak. If you speak English, they are not so interested. But they want to know, okay, what is your African language, as they would always say? Can you speak an African word? And then you are there. And then that's how people will say, if you there. You know, fake talk nothing. Then you get how you go talk, say you be African man. So, my advice to parents is that speak your language with your children. Because if your children don't pick up your language, trust me, their children won't. They will probably pick a street variety that won't last the test of time. There is also the issue of language in education. You remember when the SS system was brought, Ghanaian language was compulsory, wasn't it? And then when the children of the big people started failing, they decided that let's drop this Ghanaian language requirement. Mr. Chairman, I think we need to rethink some of our language policies. It's good we are requiring JSS students to take an exam in one Ghanaian language, but we need to go further than that. We also need to grow our languages. If we give people an economic motivation for learning our languages, they will. So, you remember in the early 70s, there was a rule that if you wanted employment in the government service, you needed to show that you could speak at least 2 Ghanaian languages. We threw that overboard. But I think we should go back. And I'm even asking for more. That you show evidence of spoken, written, and reading competence of one Ghanaian language and spoken knowledge of a second Ghanaian language. Without that, you should not be employed in any government setup. And that includes employment in the university. Our languages have to be grown. We need to grow our languages. And I suggest that we borrow. Already we use them. Now try listening to people on the radio these days. I mean, you take a word like, funny expressions like ahomatrofu. Please call the thing a telephone or a phone. Every old woman in the village knows what is a phone. What is this ahomatrofu thing? You mean the telephone tells lies? That's what it means. So there is a point to which we should stop trying to create new words. And on this point, I know I'm stepping on the toes of my friend Openyu Kofi Ajekum, with whom we've collaborated to produce terminological work, which came out only recently. Let's borrow. The languages in this world which have borrowed have survived. I'm sure some of you know that English, the words in English, 75%, roughly 75% of the words in English are borrowed words. Even words like lawyer, revenue, tax, rogue. Whenever you see a word that ends in UE, most likely it's a borrowed word. So let's not be afraid to borrow. Mr. Chairman, finally, I will plead with the government to keep the Bureau of Ghana Languages alive, because that is the bureau that publishes books in our Ghanaian languages. If we don't value our Ghanaian languages, we then will not invest in them. Thank you very much.
The second presentation is from the Faculty of Arts. Prof. Sam was formerly Dean of Arts. Thank you very much, Faculty of Arts. I think those from the Faculty of Science. I don't know what is going on in the minds of those from the Faculty of Science, whether if they mount the platform, what will be the form of presentation. Somebody whispered that the Department of Linguistics, that will be the third presentation. Prof. Osam's department. Yes. If there are no more presentations, I just want to acknowledge the presence of the head and teachers as well as students from the Christian Methodist. Please just wave us if you're here. Thank you very much. We also have a second cycle school here, that is the SOS, students from the SOS. If you could just wave. Thank you very much. We now have a special performance from the Department of Dance Studies, or by popular request from our distinguished professor, Professor Osam. So enjoy.
Yeah. Pro-Vice Chancellors, Provosts, Deans, Directors, members of convocation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come and listened to a very exciting lecture on cocoa, cassava, chocolate, the dilemma of an African linguist. For those of you who have listened to me chair lectures, you probably may have noticed that I very seldom say anything about the lecture itself, but I don't give my own lecture either. I usually talk about what I've learned from the lecture. And today I've learned an awful lot. I've learned an awful lot. First about the man himself, and then about the subject. I drew most of my inspiration from learning about the man himself. I learned about his very humble beginnings without a mother. I learned about Christian Methodist. I knew the story of Christian Methodist. And what he didn't say, but his brother went to Achimota school. So what he didn't get from Achimota, he got from his brother. So it's not surprising that I also learned another thing. He is Kweku Mensah, and I am Kweku Mensah. I was born on a Wednesday like him, and I'm the third boy, so Kweku Mensah. I also learned that contrary to what us ordinary mortals may think, there's theory in linguistics. Most of us think that theory you find in the sciences, the physical sciences, biological sciences, the social sciences. But today we've learned, but we knew that. What is most important, however, about theory is how you apply theory to the discipline. And Kweku showed us several examples of his application of theory, which has more or less defined his work over the years. What we as a university should do is encourage those who argue that theory is book-long, that theory is unnecessary, that no, they are wrong. Theory is important. Even more important is how you use theory, how you let theory inform your work, and how you make theory relevant to the things around you. How you use theory to explain your surroundings and your environment, your family life, whatever, the language we speak. So I'm very happy that Kweku brought it out. And he gave us several examples of the application of theory. I was even more excited when he spoke about the utilitarian approach to the study of language. Being an economist, you shouldn't be surprised that I'm interested in utility values of things. So I'm glad that in the end, because some made a strong case for a utilitarian approach. Let us make language useful. That's how I understood him. Let us make language, the Ghanaian language, useful to us and all those who work with us. Let me give you one funny illustration of how the Ghanaian language can be useful. Many people don't know that many years ago, I used to be a court interpreter. Can you imagine me as a court interpreter? Yeah, that's my biggest secret. I was interpreter, German. So I would go to a German court, and there will be all these Ghanaian asylum seekers with different problems. And I would translate straight from German into Twi and tell the judge what they said in Twi in German. Along the way, I became their lawyer because a lot of what they said in Twi wouldn't make much sense in German. So there I was making my knowledge of Twi. If I had known Kwekuasam, it would have been a lot simpler. But that's how you can make language useful. I do hope that one day somebody will do a Twi German dictionary. We spoke about the need for language policies in Ghana. I strongly agree. I share the view that the government must support the development of language, all the different languages that we have. Support them in a manner that makes them exciting, useful to us as a people. I agreed with him that languages, once they interact with other languages, are likely to be influenced one way or the other. That's how today we all know the influence of Arabic on Spanish or even Portuguese. We know the influence of these Germanic languages on the English language. We know how the Nilotic languages have been changed over time, how Arabic has influenced any of these things. We know even here in Ghana today, Ghana influenced by Twi, Twi influenced by Ghana, etc. I remember when in school, most of my friends who came from Kumasi, they arrived speaking no Ghana. By the end of the first year in Achimota school, they all spoke Ghana. Today, when you tell a Twi-speaking person to learn Ghana, he thinks it's an insult. When you tell a Ghan to learn Twi, he gets upset. The challenge for us as a nation is to learn to be tolerant of other languages and learn languages. I am proud today that I speak Fanti, I speak Twi, I speak Ghan. That's why I became an interpreter. Yeah. So, I'm appealing to all Ghanaians. Don't just teach your child one language, the language you speak. Encourage your children to speak another language. So in future, there will be a lot more peace in this country because of language. Because of language. Language is a very, very powerful weapon. It's a tool that can lead to chaos. And it's a tool that can lead to prosperity, properly applied. So I support everything that Kwekuasam has said, especially the utilitarian approach to language development and the study of language. Let us make language useful for us. Let us use language as a tool to bring us together and not as a tool that will divide us. On that note, I thank all of you. I thank Kwekuasam for making us proud as a university. He has shown us that there can be a lot more excitement in this environment than we usually have. We've come to an inaugural lecture where we had to go through and exercise ourselves and then watched performance. That's a new thing. So we thank him for the innovation. We thank him for the ideas. We thank him for all the work he has done for this university. And we thank his family for giving him to us. Thank you all very much.
I'll now rise for the